Hey everybody, welcome back to Neighborhood News Studio. John will be back with us in a minute. He had to restart his computer. But we're going to go ahead and start protecting the nest. And we'll bring the ladies in.
Hello.
Hey Tara.
Hi
You're muted, Carol.
Tyrone. Yeah, Carol, hi. She's okay. How are you today, Tyrone?
Good. How are
I see
you?
the fan. I'm great. I see the fans on. Is it hot over there?
Oh yeah, it's always hot in Louisiana.
Oh.
It's always hot and humid.
Yeah. That's very lucky.
It's like 90% humidity year round. So.
Carol, you're muted.
Yeah, we want to hear you, Carol.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
I've got
the Friday afternoon or morning leaf blowers going a little bit. I think they're almost done though, so it's not quite so bad. But oops, now we got the dog. That's why I'm muted.
It's okay, we understand.
Yeah, there's a. Well, let me just.
Okay. You're muted, Tara.
Sorry, we're having a muted day. No, there's a lot going on because it's only 1 month left of spring, so we're getting all of our stuff in a row. Hi, Amber.
Hello.
Hey, Amber.
Hey, how are you guys? Sorry,
Great.
my internet. Russia keeps hitting us with their attacks.
Right, they were hitting Jesse, I guess.
Yeah.
Dang that, Putin.
Well, actually,
I just want to say they do not like people to talk about the climate situation, anything to do with the weather. They do not. That's like hate speech for them.
Yeah.
Just wanted to note that.
If you look on the hacking chart, there's lots of hacking going on right now all over the world.
Huh.
It's insane.
Huh. Okay. Keep that in mind then.
Yeah, I saw on Lee Wilbur, I never say it right, Lee W, I saw on his channel, they were showing all the DDoS, like hacking and stuff. I didn't necessarily agree with the angle of the people that were answering the questions, but, I like his format, let's just say. Not necessarily that you don't have to trust everything. Just listen to see what they're saying, and they were showing a lot of the attacks.
DDoS. Yeah. That's why I watch most of the time. I look at opinions as how people have lived and how they see things, but what I always concentrate on is the documents, the actual maps, like what's going on in real time, because that's really what I'm concerned about. Because I'm not going to understand somebody else's way of thinking a majority of the time without me comprehending a deeper part of it. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's why we like to get a little, we like to get some footage, some information or whatever from someone who's actually at a place, whether you live there, you're visiting, you go there to report on something particular, that's what we need. We need eyes and ears everywhere.
Boots on the ground. Yeah, I was thinking when I was listening to George this morning that, and combined with what we talked about last night, is that I think one of our roles is to encourage courage and getting out there and doing stuff and speaking your mind and speaking your heart. That was a big topic. Yeah,
and also not needing to necessarily, following your inspiration for where it takes you. You don't have to do the same exact thing. You can if you're like, like for example, when it comes to like, I don't know, something that even if you do something similar to somebody, you'll end up doing it your own way anyway. So you could take an example of someone else as a good footing to just kick off whatever you're doing. But then, when you branch off into your own kind of specialty, because I think that's what we're all a bunch of like overlapping specialties. That's what builds the net. That's what builds a network. And that's why we want to hear from everybody. So even if somebody is, you're like, oh, I never heard that story before, let's hear a little bit more, because truth is stranger than fiction, right?
I think that it's really interesting. I think it's not only just the network, but it's the intelligence network. It's both communicating out, but also gathering, news and just people's perspectives. Like you're saying, everybody comes from a different place. And the power is really in combining all that knowledge, all that wisdom that each person has accumulated, and their perspective, and putting it all together. And you get this sort of multiple lens looking at everything all at once. And that multiple lens is, multiplicative. It's like got all this different input. So it's more valuable than just one person doing it. And I think when we all do our research and kind of go off in our corners and figure out intuitively what looks really interesting that we want to look into, that we're multiplying our intuition too. It's powerful.
I had to put my camera on low definition because, of course, my internet is messing up right after we said it.
That's okay. We got you.
Yeah.
I like your new background, Amber.
It's all the kids' artwork that we keep framing.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes all the way up.
All the way up.
We're going to cover
I
the whole
love
wall
it.
at some point. The
That's
IKEA
beautiful.
and places like that actually have really, and they like their lava lamp.
Oh boy, I remember when those were new.
Yeah. But there's cheap frames. I mean, you can get 99-cent frames at IKEA because we change them out so much. And it's just to like highlight their art to encourage them to do more.
Oh yeah, we love the kids' art, That's what at all ages we want original art. And one of the things that we talk about art and different forms of media is that when we pick it apart and analyze it, we're not in no way supporting censorship, because we want, even the people that have something to say that might be a little tougher to swallow, or somebody portraying some, so that's beautiful stuff. That's beautiful. Yeah. So all levels of expression.
My favorite thing when I go over to friends' houses that have kids, this is weird. I have a weird thing. I go straight to the refrigerator to see what their kids have on their fridge. And if they don't have something on their fridge, I know one day. So sometimes I'm like, this is messy. It's driving me crazy. When we get water from the fridge, sometimes it gets on their stuff. And I'm like, one day this won't be on there. And then I get sad. And I'm like, oh yeah, one day I won't have their artwork. I got to wait till then grandkids. And I can put more artwork.
Yeah. Then you get a whole new batch.
Yes.
The stuff can be preserved. It keeps it from the water splashes.
And it's also good to take photographs of it too, just so it's like doubled up and copied,
They have this, whoever came up with this business, the lady was a genius. You send her scanned pictures of your kids' art, and they put it all in one book. And then they send you the book. So you can scan a bunch. We were thinking about doing that and then having the kids sign the other and add it to Christmas gifts and birthday gifts to family members. And they get the original, but then we have their art in a book. And then when they get married or they, are ready for their stuff that they grew up with, they'll have a couple of books of all their kids, like their report card artwork and the important stuff. And then that way it's not scattered everywhere.
I love it. I know not everyone is like that, but, I love being, just the nostalgic one that has to like hold on to every little thing. And then you can like,
sentimental. Yeah.
Me too.
If something happened at the house, the first place I'd go is to grab the pictures. That's it.
You know,
Social security cards, birth certificates, and pictures. Everything else we can figure out. But like, you can't get pictures back.
It's a record of creativity, and
Yeah.
that's pretty important. I think that's one of the themes that we, in our Gab Fest last night, we kind of bringing it back to, how to make things beautiful and how to make things grow in this world that seems to be imploding and disintegrating and moving in a different direction. We want to be this generative force. So that's keeping it and looking at it and refeeling the joy that you got when you first saw it. It's all part of getting through all this tough stuff.
Yeah, it is. Because we're in dark times for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we also have the light. And, it's funny because now that I see Tyrone squaring off the Foursquare, and you say that you're in Louisiana, so that's almost the four corners that we have covered right now. So we do have four corners. It's just not stretched all the way to the southwest. But so what, Tyrone, speaking of, people in different places, do you have any thoughts on comparatively the vibe in Michigan compared to, I meant in like the general population compared to Louisiana right now?
I don't know. I haven't really got out too much since I got back, but I don't know. I feel like the drivers are much more in a hurry in the north.
Yeah, absolutely.
They be speeding around like crazy. Like they always have somewhere to be. And people in Louisiana just they be kind of chilling. Plus I'm kind of in Louisiana is kind of like a retirement place almost. The cities aren't very big, but I don't know. I would say I didn't get that Southern hospitality feel that I usually expect from a lot of people. I mean, they weren't like mean or anything, but people did look sad. I don't know if it's just because it was cold at the time, but a lot of people didn't look as happy. So,
well, yeah, I think.
Go ahead, Tara.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of people are worried right now. So I would say that that's probably a little bit out of the ordinary, or definitely out of the ordinary. But yeah, in addition to that, there's definitely like a northern toughness that is like, I don't need to pretend anything. This is just what it is, So it's, and here as drivers go, we're massholes.
Well, it's like when they say when you're in Rome, do as Romans do. So I tried to speed along with them. I usually go to speed limit.
When my oldest was about 3 and I was pregnant with my youngest, we decided to go to New Orleans. Well, of course, I couldn't drink and I couldn't do anything, fun, but we went on all the tours. And one of the coolest things, because I was trying to get exercise, I was trying to walk a lot so that my second one, my birth, would be easier. And I tell my husband, I'm like, whatever we see people doing, let's I want to see what the locals do. All of a sudden, we noticed everybody was wearing their football jerseys and were dressed up. We didn't think about there's a Saints game. Out of the blue, someone blows a whistle. We're in this shop looking at artwork, and then people just start locking their business doors, walking out, and all walking towards the stadium. So of course we're pushing the stroller and going, and people are chanting, and they're literally just getting on buses and just hauling all the way to the stadium. And I looked at Chase and I said, Atlanta Falcons fans are lame. We don't support them. We literally complain all the time. They win one game. We're like, well, it's not like they're going to win another one. I mean, we're the worst when it comes to being supportive. Unless you win, we're just like, oh, you're so pathetic. But the Saints, the people who follow the Saints, they didn't care if they were going to win or lose. That's their team. And I was like, we suck in Atlanta. This is awful.
Right, they're
but
gonna
we walked all the way there. We didn't have tickets, but we watched and we were just mesmerized. It was like everybody was just chanting, singing, so excited. And I was like, yeah, Atlanta gets a big old F. We fail at that.
The Saints were marching in, so what can you say?
It's true. But it was great. I mean, that I got a really great vibe, and I went on the haunted tours, all that really fun stuff. Nicolas Cage or somebody had that headstone that he's waiting that looks like a pyramid. He wants to be buried in on that tour. He's already bought his headstone. Yeah, so it was really interesting.
That's a little creepy.
Yeah, that is a little creepy.
Yeah.
By the way, Amber,
Yes.
I do have all your links ready whenever y'all want to.
Yeah, I was going to Carol and Tara and I last night, we were talking about how do we encourage people to stand up against the tyranny and the world domination tyranny. And so we came up with the group called United States Citizens Council. And so I reserved the name. I bought it. I bought two, United States Citizens with an S Council and United States Citizen Council, both, so that it belongs to Neighborhood News. It belongs to the United States Citizens Council. And then, and that's just one of the rough drafts. There's so many options. I was just wanting to put something together to kind of get started. But I think we should probably have 15 or 16 to choose from, narrow it down to 3, and then give people a vote, as to what they think it should look like. And so then I wrote a proclamation, and it's to thank the African delegation. And I can read it really quick because it's one page. But it's
let me bring it up for you.
Yeah. It's we can do a plaque for them. We can send it, we can do it on a nice piece of parchment and send it to them. But it says a proclamation for the sagacious African delegation. That means not timid, that means strong. Whereas the African delegation was shown to be integral in showing true leadership while standing firm to protect the sovereign peoples they represent. Whereas the African delegation exhibited strength, wisdom, and leadership in the face of relentless pressure, is commendable and deserving of commendation. Whereas the African delegation has worked to build peaceful partnerships within the World Health Organization while protecting their nation from worldly influence. Whereas the African delegation was shown to work tirelessly to perform their duties while advocating for the freedom of their people, to discern the measures laid forth, and to determine a more holistic package to be extended to their citizenry, which shall be addressed at a later date. Therefore, be it resolved that the United States Citizens Council acknowledges and honors the African delegation in showing true leadership in the face of immense persuasion, and be it further resolved that the African delegation, in showing great leadership, shall be recognized for their foresight and judgment. We, the United States Citizens Council, encourage all citizens to recognize the leadership of the African delegation and to join us to commemorate their dedicated posture in determining the future of their peoples. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and proclaim with signatures to be herein affixed. And then we get signatures and then mail that to them, maybe with a plaque or something, to let them know that we appreciate their steadfastness.
Yay! That is so awesome.
Yeah. Well, we also talked about writing individual letters, because it wasn't just Africa, it was other people. And we were going to go and write our individual letters. I wrote one. I'm happy to read it.
Yes.
Okay. It's a letter to the WHO delegates who voted against tyranny to turn the tide. And I think that in the video Mark did last night, there's a list of who they were, so we can dig that out. Dear delegate, so go name by name, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your important stand and vote against global medical tyranny. I know the pressure must have been on full blast, and it took courage and conviction on your part to stand up and vote against the crowd. Our group has been watching with horror for the last few years as our voices are silenced, as our doctors can no longer practice medicine that treats each patient as an individual, as our science and health institutions appear to be working for a profit motive rather than the age-old principles of truth and healing the body and the soul as a whole. This shift feels ruthless and quick. Science which is a discipline of questioning and proving, has become so specialized that the technocrats have risen up to power. The speed at which decisions are made do not have time to be tested with careful patience. We cannot help but notice that the same people that hold the patents to the diseases, viruses, themselves are the same ones that hold the patents to the injections and medicines that have not been tested vigorously. The testing that has been done is not scrutinized and has become hidden. If it were not for legal pressure, the results of those tests would have been hidden for 75 years. We know there's a history of tyranny in our shared global past, but did not expect to see it rise up so quickly to still the voices that could still remember what happened when medicine became a tool of coercion and division. Our curiosity and research notes that some of the most prominent players in the WHO and the WEF include those whose family history has ties to that dark past. We cheer the choice you made to stand fast and demand that protocol is carefully followed. I thank you again from the bottom of my heart for my family, friends, colleagues, and from the entire world for your vote and important stand against medical tyranny. Most sincerely, Carol McIntosh, a vigilant and concerned grandmother.
Yatta! Yatta! Those two are very.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Tara. I didn't know.
No, I was just gonna say. The two of those together cover like everything, because Amber, you have the very like lawful wording, very traditional, and Carol, you're cutting right to the true
heart of
exchange, the heart of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
and
person
so
to person, yeah, that's what we talked about.
So imagine we do a plaque, and then a proclamation, and then a bunch of letters from people. Yeah. Imagine getting that, where you're the African delegation, you're getting letters from mothers and whoever else wants to join in from all over the United States, along with the proclamation and a plaque. I'll look to see. I think there's reasonable price plaques. It doesn't have to be huge, and we can get it etched and sent to them.
Well, I don't think there was an African delegation that represented all of Africa. I think there were certain countries that had delegations, and each country had a vote. So we might need a bunch of plaques.
Yeah.
We could do that, or we could encourage the rest of Africa to follow the ones that did come in and were called the African delegation, so that they won't be tempted to not follow suit with the African delegation if we label it as the African delegation, because then that puts pressure on them to want to get the same reward and to know people all over supporting them, because they may be pressured or thinking that we, the people of the United States, are wanting them to join some world medical tyranny, and we've got to reinforce the fact that we don't want that, and we're glad they want their sovereignty. So I mean, we can. I think I think everyone should be able to get a vote on that and find out: do we want to change it, or just stay on the proclamation the specific places and then give them all to them? But how do we'll have to make sure that all of the nations of Africa know what these received, or just do the one. So I think getting a big group of people together.
This one is important because it's like the seed, you know, you need the little to grow into the bigger. And the fact that right now it's not all the African countries is actually a good thing, because it's that like monopolizing that comes so automatic when things are unnatural and inorganic, you know. So if something is really coming from a group, you know, they can be the African Alliance, basically, however they want to word it, because they are African, but they're not saying that they represent every African or every country and everyone has to be in this lockstep thing, you know.
Right.
So
and I looked up the material, and they kept referring to them as the African delegation. So I went with that wording. I don't know if that's when they arrived, that's what they said, they were with the African delegation. So we'll make sure that that's exactly the wording that they chose, or if a reporter was taking it
That's what I was
upon
wondering, because
themselves.
I watched Mark's program last night with Radusky, and I hope I'm saying his name wrong, right? But anyway, there were a lot of links, and Paul G was on that program too, and there were links to who voted which way and how to contact them. So I need to go through that video again and figure out where those are. But I think it's more than just Africa. So there was an African contingent that was the largest, but there were also other countries that weren't in Africa that went with them.
I think Tyrone just asked if it was the African Union Commission delegation. He pulled up an article, and if that's what they went with, I can change the wording to the African Union. What was it, Tyrone? I'm gonna have to write it down. I already forgot. I'm getting old. I already forgot.
There they are. Yeah.
Well, you did a lot of work since last night.
That's great.
So, I think that, because the whole thing is that the format should be, just putting things into writing is very powerful unto itself. Yes. That level of documentation it's a matter of record. And when things are a matter of record, and like we were saying before, if there's a council that kind of come together, and so there's different steps to really solidify these correspondences, and we want this to be a pattern for other correspondences.
We can actually order a seal, right, for $99, and we just have to come up with, everybody put their thinking caps on, get really creative. All I did, that's a template. I don't even really like it. It was really just to give an idea of, like, we need a header. It really just needs to be a small header that would go in the center, very professional, like when you get written by somebody in the government or whatever. And we figured out, I don't know if it'd be an osprey holding a fish or just something, but we need it like a seal, and we can actually order a seal and stamp, and then have it witnessed, have it, I forget what they call it. Have it. Notarized. Yes. And then do it in that kind of professional manner. And we can even do a wax seal if we wanted to close any envelope we do.
That would be awesome if the new and improved, if the symbol of the new and improved United States of America was an osprey holding a fish.
Yeah. Well, especially that hammerhead shark. We have a photo of a osprey catching a hammerhead shark, and that's pretty cool. I wanted to maybe get that animated into that the hammerhead shark is hammering some of these guys.
Did you send it? Did you send that picture?
It's I can do that. It's on here. Well,
if not, we can do it for next week. But I
I'll
think
do
that's
it
pretty cool.
When you're talking, but I think this whole idea, this whole campaign we're talking about, is expansive, and that we want people to write their own letters to these people that made the votes, to each one, and make that human connection and start growing this web of appreciation.
What we can do is actually give a template, maybe have people go to the website for their template, and then do the proclamation as this is what we're stating that they did. And then do that little blurb that a reporter stated about what they asked for, more time and kind of where they stood on it. And then an example of Carol's letter. And then tell people, go off of reading these and write a letter from your heart. And then have the address where they can send it. Because if you're getting mail from all these different addresses, right? That's amazing.
And anybody can get their letter notarized too.
Yes.
So anytime you want something to be put into the record as you can get that notarized.
Yes.
But I think
low-level bureaucrats, low-level elected officials and bureaucrats are looking for this push from the general public, because no one wants to be the first one. They're under a lot of pressure.
Yes.
And then they need that not so gentle push from their constituents to say, hey, you go do the right thing.
Yeah, that's why they needed to be called out as the good leadership that they were exhibiting. I mean, to be the ones who stood up and said no, they need to be commended for that. And they, you know, they need to know that people in this world very much so appreciate their natural born leadership skills, where they did what they were tasked to do as a delegation. So we have a lot of people that failed that. They failed their people, and they acted like weasels who didn't know what to do, or just, you know, got wined and dined and thought, well, you know, I'm somebody special. That's unacceptable. You're there to represent your constituents and your people. You're not there to get wined and dined and worry about your belly and how popular you're going to be. That's a sham, and that's from people who are, you know, they're challenged with understanding what leadership means. It doesn't mean leadership of your own body to get in a position you want. It means leadership over people's, and they didn't seem to be considering those people's.
Carol, do you remember what you were going to say?
Oh, I'm trying to put the picture on. I'm trying. I guess
okay.
I have to email it. How do I do that, John? Can I just email it to you? I got it
Yeah,
on my
sure. I got the email open, and then I'll wait for it.
Yeah.
Okay, I just have to find it and attach it.
Well, I would just say that I can brag about the point that I did see the original Osprey face screeching at us, and it was pretty good because, you know, the birds really dominate that shoreline over there in Maryland, and it's so beautiful to get up close, and, you know, they're the mama bears of the water.
Yeah, I agree.
So before we get off the subject of this correspondence, I just want to say that this is so important as far as holding on to something historically important, as far as the correspondence in the world of, you know, yeah, we'll be exchanging maybe thumb drives and stuff like that. We're still current, but, you know, when you think about like the gospel story, like, you know, a letter from the Corinthians or something, you know what I mean? It's so like timeless to be able to read as a story to these correspondents. And so in my mind, I think that we should bring this to, okay, so say we recognize locally the important, you know, sheriff is super important. We got to focus on it. Okay, Secretary of State is super important. We need to focus on it. We need to focus on things at a local level. And if we document those correspondences on a local level, where like we're literally delegating, or whatever word you want to call it, to, you know, we're sending somebody out to Hopi, you know, to talk directly to them. We're sending somebody to the Navajo Nation. We're sending somebody even to just the county, you know, a state away. Whatever we want to do, we're having like internal communications where we don't need some centralized message to say what everyone thinks. And especially with this wokeness, when everyone wants to be like, oh, I speak for Black people, or I speak for women, or I speak for every gay person. Like, it's so ridiculous of an idea to think that it's going to be like that. It's like, no, you know, as a matter of fact, I have my half sister. My sister is my half sister. Her mom, she has a Black mom, and we both have a white dad, right? And it's like, as soon as this crap started getting pulled up, like 2016, people be like, oh, you support Trump? Well, oh, what about your sister? I'm like, yeah, what about my sister? Like, it's so stupid. Like, all of a sudden, people started being like, you know, so it's like, oh, but my point is, I would just call her directly. Oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, don't try to tell me. I have a direct communication with her. Don't try to, from the outside, tell me something about my sister. It's like, I'm going to talk right to her. Hello.
I think we should offer people a challenge, and the challenge should be, if someone on TV or on the radio tells you something and you're ready to go scream down the road, stop, pause, breathe, consider who you might attack, and then ask yourself, should I? Like, if somebody is wanting to vote for someone specific, do they represent all bad that's ever existed, all because I just got bent out of shape because I heard this one story that I don't even know is true, but because all my friends told me and we've been screaming about stuff, now I'm going to go attack anybody that I know might be leaning towards this person. Out of all the things there are to do in the world, an aspect of a person you have no control over changing is dominating your life more than helping the elderly lady across the street who needs her roof mended or her yard mowed or a community garden or helping tutor children. There's so many damn things that we can do instead of screaming and getting nothing done. The more you scream at somebody, they're not going to change their mind. They're going to dig in their heels. And now you burnt bridges. So now when you need people the most, you're going to be afraid to ask them. I don't know why people think Washington, D.C., if some asteroid comes or we get bombed, Washington, D.C. and Nancy Pelosi, they're going to put on their vests and they're going to come marching down our road and pick us up and carry us out of our houses. What kind of goober crap is that? You should be in touch with your local police, your local firemen, your EMT. You should be in contact with all the strong men and women in your community. You should literally be active at your neighborhood meetings, at your neighborhood watches, at your neighborhood gatherings. And this is really where you won't have as much fear. You can all trade phone numbers. You should all not use the text, but have a text thread, right? That's labeled neighborhood watch or neighborhood comms or neighborhood communication, and have everybody in your neighborhood's number and they have the same, and it's on one text thread. And you say on the very first one, just texting, so that in case of an emergency, we can all contact one another, right? Now they can pull it up and they hear something at night. Did you hear that? Is so-and-so okay? This is something we should all be doing. We need to be proactive because we've seen that all of the people tasked to take care of us are given other orders and they're not being able to take care of us.
That's a good point, Amber.
Good advice.
I remember that that when I was a very small child, our parents were often calling each other on the phone, to say, "Hey, did you hear what went on? Do you know what's going on?" Because they had, without declaring so ex facto, they had a neighborhood watch system going. I mean, it's been going on for 10,000 years. You had to talk with your neighbors, and before a telephone call, you had to talk with your neighbors to warn them of dangers, to find out what the heck what stupid thing your kid did that day. And for some reason now, with the internet, we've gotten away from that.
Yep.
We just need to navigate through the new world and set up avenues for that level of communication, because traveling is one of the things that help you to gain perspective. You come back to your community, and that's one of the things I'm sure that they were talking about and still are, where it's just like, oh, okay, well, I just got back from XYZ place, and over here they were saying blah blah blah, or I witnessed this or whatever. So it's very important to, not everybody has, a lot of people are very rooted in their area, and other people that have the job to flit around are supposed to come back and report back to the roots,
Yeah.
Oh,
look at that.
yeah.
See, I think that with the white background, so that all you see on the paper, on the parchment, would be just the eagle, the seal of the osprey holding the hammerhead, with, instead of a blue background, a white background. So whenever it's on a piece of paper, actually no background, where the seal is just that, right? And then it says United States Citizen Council, right? Maybe at the top United States, and then at the bottom Citizens Council.
I think maybe we should have United States for America, because the United States itself is the corporate title, whereas the USA.
There's a lot of other countries that are the United States of blah, 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 too. So,
yeah, we can do the United States of America Citizens Council. I can change. I mean, it's easy to edit it. I can change the United States of America Citizens Council. That makes sense.
Yeah. This whole thing will come together organically. It's very, and also, you know, to think about correspondences and, you know, so with that level of profession and then heart, we might continue corresponding with them. They might might want a response, and that might open up an avenue for just like that text line, because it's like, as much as we have our neighborhood texts like we do, we have our network of kind of different places, or even talking about what Lee does and stuff like that. So the same format can be applied regardless of who you're communicating with regularly, you know.
Correct.
I think we could send this to the people that didn't get the commendation as well, that voted wrong, you know, and let them know that we're watching and we're paying attention. I think we could send this to newspapers too, as a press release, you know, that we're giving this award, and because it didn't get any press. That was one thing that was so horrible about this happening, is it's all done in quiet. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody sees it on the news. They have no clue all the stuff is going on in the background.
No, just George. Just George.
Yeah, imagine you're another country and you get in the mail our proclamation to the delegation of Africa, and you're like, oh, well, well, looks like they stood up and they had true leadership. Did you get that, everybody? True leadership. Real leadership.
From the bottom, you know, it doesn't have to only come from the officialdom. We can sound official too.
Yeah. And to do a fun, since every time we get on, we're trying to be positive and funny. I added one of my favorite memes because it reminds me of a lady on here that I just found. And it is, I think Carol's going to love it. And it's just to bring just a little bit of laughter, and then we get right back on track. But it says Caroline on it. But it's an email I sent, but I was like, oh my gosh, I got to send this to Carol. This is just so funny. I love it. Because I love the song too. So it was very funny.
Well, it is important to laugh, you know. I mean, yes. we need to joke around through the whole thing. We need to sing, you know, and it's like,
I agree.
Just talking about how to make things positive. We do.
No, it's not that one. It's a picture. It's a meme, and it has Carol. It's just, on the subject. It says Carol. It's great.
I know. The memes are so fun because it's like you can kind of, like, I made a couple, but you have more in your head, you know, than you've actually made or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I have an Aunt Carol, and I'm going to send it to her. But when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, Carol's going to love this. Because it's super original.
That I think you guys will like too, and I already said it, but I don't know if everyone was there, was encourage courage.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
I love that.
Great. Encourage courage. I got to write that down.
Because, you know, we have George and we have McDuff, but everybody can have those aspects of that indefatigableness that both of them.
Encourage courage. I love it. As soon as you find it, and then we can have our laugh, and we'll move on to the next subject. But it's literally, it's so cute. You know, you get memes and they're usually biting, right? And they're sarcastic. But this is like one of those cute, and like just puts a happy place in your heart, especially if you got to know a Carol. If you don't know someone named Carol, it's just not gonna do it. But
well, what about, there's also Caroline Kennedy, which I just, you know, I have my own romantic viewpoints, but I won't go into it right now.
I like Rose Kennedy. So I even got a book it's a family portrait book, and there were like tons and tons of just memories of as she grew up. But I sent one to McDuff like 2 years ago for Christmas because it's right up his alley. You know, it just goes back in the history of the Kennedys, and everybody's, you know, family pictures are together. And, you know, I've always heard about the Kennedys, you know, family would always talk about, you know, there was a big divide. It was a really sad time. It was one person after another getting murdered. This was not a good thing happening in our country. We were afraid for all our leaders, no matter what their stance was. If they're on one side, they were getting set up to commit perjury or to do something bad or encouraged to do it so that they could, or they were getting shot or they were getting killed. Like, it was just constant. And they would explain that, your government is tasked to take care of you. And sometimes when you see that the people who are working within the government and are known throughout the government, when they get hurt, it gives someone a lowly, just a citizen, it gives them this feeling of nobody cares about me. If they're going to do that to somebody like them, nobody's ever going to care about me. And I remember, no matter who they were, no matter how they felt politically, they all agreed, anytime that, and they weren't even, they would rather carpet bomb a whole country rather than just take out the dictator, work it out, like figure out what's going on. But then they'll kill our own presidents. And it's like, I don't like that very much. That's very disconcerting. Can you not find it, John?
Or the
I don't see your picture, Amber.
Okay.
Did you send it to the studio Gmail?
Yeah, the Gmail, yeah.
I didn't see it in there.
Okay.
I searched by attachments. Maybe you could send it again.
Okay, I will. Sorry about that.
It's all good. Sometimes it just doesn't deliver mail. It happens.
It happens. Well, I know that there is going to be a second tour at the because before we had gone to the Ford Museum in Michigan, and I believe we'll be going again, but there is the actual Kennedy car there that that he was picking out in. Yeah. And it was interesting to actually be there with Dave Underdown too, because he backfills the story so good on kind of like even things that are speculative, as you guys know, but kind of like the Ford Theater, and then all the Ford with Lincoln, and even kind of vaguely connecting with these Ford vehicles, and it's very interesting. The museum itself is incredible, but
Valley Ford with George Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, always. That's what I'm trying to learn. And I think my biggest frustration, and this is just with day-to-day life, pattern interrupt. So when you're, mine is usually I'm in the groove of like organizing something or cleaning the house or getting a project done. And what do you know? Phone call. Or my mom's like, it's an emergency, let me talk to you. It wasn't really an emergency. Or my son go, Mom, watch. That pattern interrupt throws me off. And I have to exert so much energy just to get right back in that frame of mind where I was fluidly moving. And that's really what I feel like anytime there's momentum from people who want things to change, there's a huge pattern interrupt. And I think that's why they introduce chaos. And I think that's why as soon as someone's getting a leg into or figuring something out, like with the Pfizer documents, as soon as that happened, boom, here, look, here's a school shooting. Here, look, here's this. Here, look, this is going on. Oh, look, Russia's attacking us. Oh, look, our State Department or our Pentagon just told Russia we're, going to be hacking them, just one thing after another. Meanwhile, people are still trying to pour over these Pfizer documents.
Yeah, I don't think those Pfizer documents are getting very well distributed, and that might be something we could send to the WHO delegation. Would be some of those that maybe they're not seeing that.
I agree.
Information.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It shows it went through, guys. Now I had to send it again. Sweet Caroline. So it's actually a bunch of women lined up named Carol. So I'm Carol. Me too. I'm also Carol. Really, me too. My name's Carol.
Caroline.
Every Carol I've ever known is very, very sweet. So the fact that he sang that song and then there was this meme, I was like, it's so true. Like, there's something about that name.
Good.
Yeah.
I think
something about that name.
To Caroline Kennedy. I think that's who he was singing to.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've known a lot of Carols, and none of them were mean. They were all really sweet, very quiet, very, unassuming. They weren't they weren't pushovers, but they weren't, they just didn't have a mean bone in their body. They could be if they were pushed that way, but they're just gentle spirits. Every Carol I've ever known. So that was like a perfect name for that. It's like, oh, that's so true.
So good. Well, I would just say from my own, I have sometimes I call it zany, sometimes I call it spiritual, sometimes it's anthropological, but I've spent a lot of time looking at faces because it's just it's been part of my study in the past, and I'm pretty sure that I saw Carolyn, the real Carolyn, her face at a Trump rally. And it's like, it's one of those things that I know I can't make, I'm not even trying to get anybody else to believe me. I'm not. I already believe it unto myself because I saw it with my own eyes as far as my understanding of my own truth, So it's like, it's just one of those things that there's so many things out there where, that was some kind of personal proof. But we have a range of proofs that we've actually documented that we could be talking to somebody and then they could be like, nah. And then you pull up the picture and then they're like, oh, yeah, actually, yeah. So there's that. But then there's also, those inner spiritual things, like not even spiritual. Sometimes it's the body language stuff. But, we all learn and have different senses that we trust maybe more than others,
Yeah, I've been considering, but I don't know if I will follow through with it. I have always been really interested in micro expressions. Like I can tell if someone's sad, if they're upset. And, because anybody that has really sad energy, it brings me down. And I don't want to, it's hard enough to keep myself very leveled and up and balanced. And so I love it's a gift, but it can be a curse if you don't control it because you're taken with your emotions with whoever's around you. And then you don't really know where it's coming from and you react. And that takes a lot of energy not to do. But I find it so interesting, especially the micro expressions. I think I want to take classes really just on learning like body language, micro expressions, because it's a natural thing for me already. And I think why not take a class that gives you that little bit more of information if you already are inclined to be interested in it. It's hard taking a class if you're not interested. When I had to learn about the ecology of the root system of a plant in master gardening class, I mean, it was great. But I was like, oh gosh, I would like to learn the pollination process. I would like to, there's just different aspects that you're really drawn to. And one of them, I did not want to learn about pesticides. And I did not want to learn about what it does to exoskeletons of the insect. I did not want to learn about any of that. And so my husband and I took the class and I was like, I'm going to tune out a lot so I don't get upset. So you and I are going to have to study later because I can't, I'll be like, but I wish, and it shouldn't be this way. And I freak out and I'm not going to learn anything.
Well, I think there's different kinds of pesticides, Amber. There's ones made out of orange oil and ones made out of mycelium. And there's different ways to handle insects that are out of hand. But I wanted to bring up something that Tara mentioned in our Gab Fest about a memory of January 6th that we both noticed, and it was really unexpected and notable. And that were these big tables of Chinese people with a lot of literature and big banners that said "Down with the CCP," and that you said that was our warning. And I think that we are, especially with what's going on with the WHO and the WEF just these last couple of weeks, we're feeling that oppression against individuals stronger than ever.
It was a big force too. It wasn't just a couple tables. I meant there was a lot. They had vehicles, they had trucks, they had people walking around talking. I don't know the percentage, but it was a big amount of people, and it's hugely underreported. And they were like so relatable and like from experience were anti-CCP.
Well, actually, there are a ton of videos that they put on YouTube. I don't know if they've been taken down by now, but it was a bunch of different groups of people from China, people from Taiwan, people from Hong Kong. And their big thing that they were saying was, we're just trying to warn you. We're just trying to warn you. And they ran into some people who were saying, you know, they're open-minded. They're very liberal. But they were saying, I can't believe you support President Trump. And why are you here? And they're like, I can't believe in the United States of America, where we're all free to believe how we want to, we're being told by a certain group or faction how we shouldn't believe. That's how the CCP divides you and tells you that someone's supposed to believe just like you. And they were schooling these people who were speaking for democracy and how we as people should be, while they were trying to oppress a group of minorities who are Chinese here in America, standing up for a president that they appreciated. Right. And that was like, it blew my mind. Like, how can you be so blind? You know, you can be caring. I mean, a lot of people, they lean towards the liberal arts. They are more on the Democrat side. But to be that blinded in your hatred for a specific candidate, to where you won't even listen to a group of people that you say you're fighting all of the racists in the United States so they don't hurt minorities, and yet you're talking down to them like an elitist, like they're stupid. I thought you love minorities, and you're talking to a group of individuals, human beings that happen to be Chinese or Taiwanese or from Hong Kong, and you're downgrading their opinion and like challenging them as if they don't get that autonomy to make that decision. That is what really ticked me off. It's so hypocritical.
Also just a lot of immigrants, but particularly the Chinese ones that I kind of went up and talked to. They said that the control was imposed on people by people disappearing. They said that was how things were run. And remember Sheng Li, that Chinese doctor, just disappeared. And I think the other one that might have been Snohomish County man, that other doctor that just disappeared. I mean, people that don't go along with the program just vanish. And we've certainly seen that since then in terms of censorship. You know, that
do you think we can find those videos? Do you think we can find those videos and maybe play them at some point where
I don't
maybe
think
next week?
My problem there was that the batteries didn't work. So a lot of stuff didn't turn into videos.
I mean that maybe we could scour and see if they took videos and put it up.
Maybe, yeah.
Also, a comment, since y'all were talking about China, and I don't know if y'all heard of Li Liang.
No, I haven't.
He was a Chinese whistleblower doctor, because like you remember him? Don't forget that guy, because they kind of murdered him.
Yes,
because he was one of the first whistleblowers in that chat group amongst the doctors and stuff. And the CCP came after him, and he died in the hospital after fighting with COVID, supposedly. So his name was Li Liang.
Will you spell that for us, please?
Hold on, I'll put it on the screen.
Thank you. I remember his face. He was young. He was handsome. He was a very handsome doctor. He was very, he was like a guardian. He was a protector of not only the patients, but of anybody who might, find themselves in the hospital and being thrown in a body bag before they were dead. Because he was really getting upset at, because I saw videos of people like moving and twitching, and they were just putting them in a body bag and closing it up. And I was like, what in the absolute?
Right. You saw all kind of crazy stuff coming out.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't fake. And what upset me the most is when nurses are crying. Like they're literally losing it to other nurses who are like, be quiet, be quiet. You don't want to get in trouble. And because she just saw, and she's complaining that they're putting people who are not all the way dead in body bags and throwing them in vans. And she's like, this is not okay. And then they would scrub it. And I'm like, so America is so worried about a dictatorial group of people that they're going to scrub YouTube so we can't see that people in different parts of the world and even America are doing really bad things. Like, who are they working for again? Just so they don't care about just our lives. They're not here to tell us the news or let us know what's actually happening on the ground. They're here to call that conspiracy and feed us whatever directive their donor told them and whatever the teleprompter explains that they need to say next. I think that's disgusting.
And just, we societies need to take it as a good example and say, we can't let it. We know that they've killed, homeopathic doctors here and whatever, but it's like the way that it is in China. It's like we can't afford to go to not do something now. To do not, you know what I mean? To be like, and they can't afford it too, because on this globe we need the American last stand of freedom for the whole world to be able to be free too, so it's like we are linked, but I think and speaking of documentation and the Constitution, and we have the forefront of this fight, I believe.
Well, that was another thing that really surprised me about that January 6th. I don't know how we got on that. I think I brought it up. But there were a lot of immigrants who I talked to, some from Central America, South America, and Africa. And I've kind of been talking to Uber drivers and stuff when I travel as well. And the theme is, and I ask, why did you come here? And it's always, they have a horror story of what things were like. I think there was a guy from the UAE, and he said that just like the Uyghurs, there are these giant jails that are just packed with people. And, that's where you go if you don't agree with things. And that was pretty scary. Or just people that said, we came here because we saw the loss of being able to speak out. It just happened. It just was like a curtain coming down. And we came here because this was a place where we knew where we could speak out. But then they're feeling now that that's changing, and they could see what was on the horizon because they'd already been through that before.
What I thought we were going around the world spreading democracy. I guess we've been going around spreading
something else. Something else happened. We thought that. That's what we were told, but that's not what happened.
And what I've noticed though, and I know these things are few and far between, and that's why I really want to highlight. And I want us to, reach out to the people who are getting their voice out. They're letting us know things. Mm-hmm. And that's why whenever we're sharing what we've seen other people speak to, it's like, hey, you let people know what we're doing. We'll let people know what you're doing, because we need to gather together. And two of the videos that I found was, there's a comedian who does a little skit about monkeypox. It's very funny, but the first one is the food storage simulation. And this lady found documentation about how they were going to conduct the food storage, the food shortage simulation. Like they did all these other, like where they played it out and they, did the simulation. Yes. And so hers is really good because she shows every bit of the documentation as she's reading it.
Is it this lady?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Let me see. This is Zay Speak Truth. I guess they uploaded it for her.
Yeah, they did. It was on TikTok, but you can't really find it because that's one thing that keeps getting taken down. So someone on YouTube did it, and I wanted to grab it before they got rid of it.
Well, we appreciate them preserving it.
Yes.
Do y'all want to hear something insane?
You heard that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Do y'all want to hear something insane? Well, really not insane, because we can definitely see this happening. In November of 2015, 65 international policymakers, academics, business, and thought leaders gathered at the World Wildlife Fund's headquarters in Washington, D.C. Listen to this, to play a game of how the world would respond to a future food crisis. Food chain reaction crisis simulation ends with global carbon tax. I am not joking. The game took the players from the year 2020 to 2030. What a coincidence, right? As it was projected, the decade brought two major food crises, with prices approaching 400% of the long-term average. A raft of climate-related extreme weather events, governments toppling in Pakistan and Ukraine, and famine and refugee crisis in Bangladesh, Myanmar, Chad, and Sudan. Over 2 days, the players divided into teams for Africa, Brazil, China, the EU, India, and US. International businesses and investors and multilateral institutions crafted their policy responses as delegations engaged in intensive negotiations. Cooperation mostly won the day over the short-term individual advantage. Teams pledged to build international information networks and early warning systems on hunger and crops together, invest jointly in smart agricultural technology, and build up global food stocks as a buffer against climate shocks. Listen to this now. In the face of a steep price spike with looming global food shortages in 2022, the EU at one point suspended its environmental rules for agriculture and introduced a tax on meat. Both measures were quickly reversed in 2025 as harvest went back to normal and tensions eased in the hypothetical universe. The most eye-catching result, however, was a deal between the US, the EU, India, and China, standing in for the top 20 greenhouse gas emitters, to institute a global carbon tax and cap CO2 emissions in 2030. You cannot make this up. Almost like it was planned. The game was built over the course of months with maximal realism in mind. The scenario was extrapolated from events that have actually occurred in the real world, such as the food crisis of 2008, 2009, or the recent string of hottest years and months on record. Again, you can't make this stuff up. It's a game to them. It was an actual game that came true and is still coming true. Share this. Maybe it'll wake somebody up.
Well,
Wow.
obviously, it's more than a game, but I think what they learned from that is how to program the AI and how to, and it's all done on simulations and assumptions. They put in the input assumptions and what they want the outcome to be. So they're sort of running things and figuring out what the outcome is, and then they put it in, and then all these things just happen. These algorithms, that we can't communicate with each other, or certain words will take down your social media, or just things like that just start happening automatically. And it's not really somebody doing it, it's these algorithms that just make things happen, and
Yeah.
so
And I saw it and I was like, I am so appreciative every time I see somebody. What I don't like is when someone's not showing documentation. They're kind of pontificating. They're just talking. It's the documentation. It's that you can find it. It's obviously, here it is, and the way that she lays it out, it's very concise. It's easy for people to grasp. And, I commend every one of these people who are doing this, because this is what we need. We need to be able to grab these information things, be able to pass them around, because, when we're being lied to and then we're questioned why we have little trust, it's the most toddler-esque little child behavior. But Mom, why don't you believe me? Because you lied to me 3 times yesterday, son. I don't believe you. I have to check. I mean, it's like, this is how we have to talk to our government now. Say everybody in the world has to turn to their government and go, are you sure? Are you telling the truth? I'm going to give you one more chance. Okay, let me go check. It's really sad. And then they want to mock us because we're questioning them. And it's like, I would be considered a stupid citizen if I did not question you. I would be considered an ignorant sheep if I did not question you. I choose not to be that.
When we do question them and come up with documents, then the documents vanish. They vanish from the internet. They vanish from hard drives. They can just vanish things. And so we were talking a little bit about this last night too, how history is just kind of changing it's different than what we remember. The stuff that we see in Wikipedia isn't what really happened. So there's
And there's been funny people. I mean, this guy who's a comedian about the monkeypox, this is all a joke, but he calls the CDC or FDA and he does this. What he's doing is pointing out the absurdity in a way that makes people go, what is he being like facetious or real? And they just go, thank you for your call. And they just keep going. But he, sometimes humor is so biting that it just makes you go, okay, well, that just slapped me across the face. Woo, that was, and his facial expressions. I watched it a couple times because his facial expressions are the best. He's squinting and walking, but you can tell he went far away from anyone hearing him because he was really going to put on a show. So it's very funny.
Please unmute, and you have the option to share video.
Hey, Katie, it's me, Alejandro. And guys, I don't know why we haven't effectively got a vaccine for the monkeypox. I really enjoy hanging out at the bathhouses in San Francisco. And I know that I could be susceptible to get it. As a matter of fact, I think I might have it already. I have horrible sores all over my genitalia area, and I'm not sure if it is monkeypox. But there's no safe and effective monkeypox test at the moment. So I'm really just begging if we can get Katie Rice to spend some money. Because these monkeys, they're getting people and humans infected. It's not much different than the AIDS epidemic. And you know, that ravaged through San Francisco. So I don't want the monkeypox to take out me and my friends. And listen, I'm not a homosexual. I'm a metrosexual. But I have a lot of gay friends, and I hang out with them. And I go to the bathhouses, and we hang out, and we sit there, and we like the steam and the sauna. And now I have sores all over my body, and I'm not exactly sure what that's from. And I don't even know the testing protocol. So if you guys could just give 1 ounce of energy that you gave COVID-19 to monkeypox, it might help me and my community. Because listen, I live in fear. I have stores right now. I'm going through all kinds of Neosporin. And let me tell you something. It's not pleasurable. It's very embarrassing. I have to come here and publicly speak about this, and it just makes me feel really embarrassed. It makes me feel terrible because I just want to live in a society that's acceptable. I mean, what's next? Donkey pox, giraffe pox? How many pox are there? I already had chicken pox, and that was terrible. I had to repeat second grade because of that. It's just all these pox are ruining my life, and I don't even know how to get tested. I don't know where to go. I need the vaccine. All I'm asking for is a monkeypox. I've already had my 5th booster. I'm willing to take as many shots as it takes, but I need your help. I'm asking you, Moderna, Pfizer. If you're listening, I need my monkeypox vaccine. These sores are ravaging my body and making it uncomfortable to even sit down to go number 2. I just don't know what to do except to come here and thank you. You're our leaders. You should know this. You should have a plan in place, a contingency plan for this outbreak. Brian Stelter said it could be just as bad. Belgium is our...
The next speaker is...
See, this is when you need to yell out and cry out, but you need to express yourself in a funny way. So you just open up and you're just like, wah, wah, and all these, like, you know, it's necessary.
That was great. A lot of our newest subscribers ask us, me and Tyrone get letters all the time from new subscribers. How can we help? Because I'm not good at, I don't Photoshop. I don't do this. I don't do that. But how can I help? I want to make a point here that it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a real pro at any one thing. There was about 10 years ago, there was a young artist, not even an artist. There was just a college student who wanted to make a political statement, but he really sucked at drawing. He didn't know any kind of art, software. So he just started drawing stick figures, and I'm going to pull up one of his cartoons now. His stick figures got him syndicated on the Los Angeles Times newspaper, and now he's making $250,000 a year. His name is Randall, I think, Monroe, and it's called xkcd.com. But just drawing stick figures, that's all you need to do, okay? You don't have to be brilliant. You don't have to be Van Gogh. Just draw a stick figure. Do something simple. Put it on paper and hand it out, at supermarkets. That's all you need to do.
What did that say? I only got halfway through it.
Okay, I'll put it back up. It's a guy and a girl in a bedroom, and it's romantic. So he says,
"Bring the romance back." Spin in a circle.
What are you doing? Spinning counterclockwise. Each turn robs the planet of angular momentum, slowing its spin the tiniest bit. Lengthening the night, giving me a little more time with you.
Oh, that is romantic. I like that.
He was pulling his hair out. How do I get my message out? And just with stick figures, that was enough. So my general message is, even if you can't come to the charrette, send us your ideas in very, very simple terms. We will find somebody to help you flesh out your idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just the things like Amber has come across, you know, just little social media
Send
things
them. Yeah.
that help convey our message. You know, and I think one of the things we mentioned when we were talking earlier about the letters and the whole program that we're talking about earlier today was that we can send them out to other people that aren't WHO delegates, but people like Lena Pooh and Naomi Wolf and people that are really just warriors and doing, you know, working hard all the time and making a difference. So, and George, he gets one. You know,
Yes, I think doing a proclamation for each person who's putting in that time, that energy, I think that's super important.
Yes, and that's documentation, you know. It's like one of the things that George has done with his books is, you know, he decided things are moving really fast, so I'm just going to put out a bunch of, you know, briefs on just exactly what some of the detail we're dealing with. And it's so important too, because, you know, some people just to have that. And even speaking of things getting deleted, thankfully there are people that recognize that they need to capture something as soon as it comes out. So we know that we have it all, collectively speaking. Wayback Machine, all that, you know. It's oh, and it was so funny too, this one person that I don't even know her name because it comes up on a channel that it's not showing who it is, but she reads different accounts and whatever, and she's going through it, and one day she was like, George Webb, da 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 da, and she read a bunch of stuff. I was like, yeah, you know, because I was just going to say that getting deleted so much has actually provided us the opportunity to, for a little while, be smaller than we would have been if we weren't getting deleted, you know?
Yeah. And what I've noticed, or when I'm reading the Bible, I keep going back to the children of God will be spread all across the earth. So I think there's plenty of people out there that are trying to get us to understand how beautifully we were made, how we were given all the tools necessary to survive in the world, in an ever-changing world, and that we need to be able to harness those things, those herbs, those plants, the sunlight, you know, laughter, happiness, love. And I think there's plenty of people out there scattered, and we just need to connect with them, or at least share their work, or at least let them know we see them and we hear them, because that support system is very much so needed.
And people feel alone. I mean, I think we're spread all over the country, and in our own locations, I think we're often separated from our friends and family and what we're allowed to even speak about. And there's probably lots of other people too out there that feel the same and haven't found each other like we have. So anyway, to really connect with people and feel that community and feel our humanity, you know, that's what's being attacked with transhumanism, is you know, what we are as humans, and we are connected, and we love to communicate and do things together. Music is so important, rhythm is so important, just to our health too. So there's just finding those lost souls that feel alone and bringing them back into the fold. I think our letter writing campaign and PR campaign might help that happen.
I feel really sorry for people who want transhumanism, because it tells me their life is unfulfilled. Like, there's deep sadness there to think that they want to change things deep within them to not be themselves anymore. That means it's severe depression. There's something that's there that it's not, you know, normal. That they need to see about that. They need counseling, because really, I don't want to be myself anymore. I need something to change. Like I need an external thing to morph my body, change my body. That's depressing. I mean, that's really sad that someone
Well, the
feels that
message
that's
is
the
hard.
necessity.
You know, when I talk to my friends that have been listening to some of those, it is that they do feel responsible for all the wars that have ever happened. And they do feel personally responsible for the carbon footprint, and that it's the fault of humans. And
Okay, well then we just don't mimic it or repeat it. You know, I think
it's
they
been
should
repeated over and
Yeah.
over and over until it's just soaked in, and they've taken it on. And
Yeah.
they weren't like that before. They weren't.
Right.
You know what? I think it's a lack of faith, honestly, because it's a combination of things. You have the manipulative mind control spells that they're
Yeah.
putting out, and you also have a platform of like, it's not a non-spiritualness, it's not a non-love, it's not even a non-heavenly connection, but it's like a non-understanding of how to connect with that faith. Okay, so somebody has told them that you need to put these other people of industries of power above what your heart tells you, above what your direct connection to the spirit world is, so your direct heavenly messages. So people just in their culture have been they haven't been given a platform or permission to like have their faith override everything else, like absolutely to the core, and I think that people's experiences do bring them there, but the people that buy into this
You don't trust their experiences anymore, is what it is.
Right.
Their own
Right.
empirical evidence. They've been told you can't trust anything, so trust us. And for some reason that makes sense. It doesn't make sense to us for some other reason.
Well, I've noticed that's I think that's the typical psychological ploy of if you want someone to depend on you, you have to point out all the places that people are, this is bad. You have to depend on me. Look, I'll save you. Look. And you point out specific things to frighten them. And then they cling to you because you came to them with the problem solution and you're going to take care of it. And it's an old ploy that's been used since the first monarch, the first dictator, the first head of church. And it's, I will guide you to where you need to be. And, there's a part of me who's like, you know what? Somebody felt a very strong urge to say, I want to protect these people. I don't know their heart. I don't know if they did it so they could dominate and hate, or if they did it because they felt moved and felt like this is what I'm supposed to do. And if the universe is supposed to be how it is, then they were supposed to play that role, like that was intended. However, since then, and propaganda and Edward Bernays and these people have learned that through watching historical events and how things came to be, they were going to take it and manipulate it for certain purposes. And that in itself has led to people being persuaded to follow something they never would because the boogeyman told them where the boogeyman was and didn't point to themselves as well. And, that's why in the Bible, I can't remember the verse, but if someone knows about evil, can determine evil, know what evil's thinking, and be able to talk about it on such level, they themselves need to worry about them being used by that same force to be so learned. But it also says, be wise as serpents, but gentle as lambs. And I understand that as well. And it's a very big balancing act. It's very difficult. And it's not for the faint of heart. And I think, Carol, that's why you're so patient with friends that you love and that you're just still going to love. And I think same with Tara, family, friends, same with me, family, friends. I think all of us, when you have a deeper understanding of the manipulation going on, you don't really hold your friends accountable for being manipulated. You hold those that are manipulating them accountable, whereas they would hold us accountable for believing whatever it is. And that's fine. If that's,
we must be crazy.
Yes. And I'm fine with being crazy. It's good. It's okay.
And I think for as far as the encourage courage thing is, it's just that people need to get redirected and actually think about what moves they are making and what effect it's going to have. I meant it's shown perfectly in that simulation thing. The whole thing ends with a carbon tax, you know? So it's like, so we have to think like just putting money towards something isn't, you know, you got to follow all the steps. If you say, oh, I gave money to, you know, just this, we need to, within everything, within our trade route, within the money that's filtering down to all our institutions, we just need, it can't be like, oh, they're getting the money, so that's okay. You know, it's like, no, it's like we have to trace everything back so that we have an understanding of what's being effective. Like Amber, you were saying, if as long as you're sitting there arguing some useless runaround, your elderly neighbor might need you to check in on them, you know, and that is an important thing. And so that's something that redirects us too, because it's like, how long are you gonna bang your head against the wall? You just are like, okay, I need to use my energy to do something super positive. For me, that's how I found you guys. So that's kind of my silver lining, to just be like, prompt you to be like, okay, we need to, just like these ideas we're doing now. So we're like, okay, we need more of like a rooted, established system. And now's the time, because as these other systems, we watch them crumble. It's the changing of the old guard, you know, especially the medical pharmaceutical company. It's like they have been propped up on so much BS that the whole thing, the whole house of cards needs to be taken down, and we need to completely reassess. I mean, look at what they're doing. They're gaming our food. Okay, they're gaming our food chain. It's like
disgusting.
You know, it's disgusting. Like, we know that it's this far, but it's like, these are the things that, you know, I love it. That girl putting her lovely face right in there to be like, this is what they're doing. And so it's like, these levels of communication of the people waking up, it's like the genie's not going back in the bottle. Okay, and so every time we're putting energy towards it, yes, we get frustrated, but we're going to keep on meeting. We're going to keep on meeting, and we're going to, those people that didn't understand are going to be happy, because every time, you know, the plane's being flown and everyone checked the engine and everything, all the passengers are happy. They didn't need to like take notes on everything that people were doing. It's just an exchange of trust that we need in order to move forward. And if we need to shake them on down and shake out all the pieces that are defunct, toxic, or flipping whatever, it's like, good, shake them on out. We want to see them. Get rid of them.
But at the same time, I think building a new trust and rebuilding communication channels that have all been destroyed by lack of trust, and people being told, well, this is all lies, you can't believe anything, so there's nothing left. But there is lots left, and just having your own observation and believing in yourself to have that, believing in yourself to take action on what you see, that's what really matters. It's really internal reflection on what you can do to affect the external, you know. That's,
and I would add that I think that there is a portion of people, probably a little less than 1/3, that do not want to have to think on their own, and they do not want to ever question the government unless it's somebody that's not part of their partisan pool, right? This is my group, and if it's my group, I don't care if there's a second Hitler. This is my group. And I think that it's only until they're shamed by a large portion of people, and it's come to be that, this is not good, like what happened with Germany. All of a sudden, they're getting attacked, and they're like, wait, what? I thought, oh yeah, I didn't have anything to do with this. And I think there's just going to be that group, no matter what side of the aisle, that's going to say, you know what? They're doing this in our best interest. I'm sorry, but if people are dying because of protocols in the hospital that could be otherwise served, people can't even request from their doctors what they want as medication for their own bodies and their own health. I mean, you're not doing your job. Neither are the people that you are saying you support. This is absolutely against the Constitution. There's so many things that are not part of the law in which you say that they're following, right? And that's the insane part of all of this, is that there's like this attachment to authority, only if it's the authority you prefer. And when that attachment happens, you have no questions. As horrible things happen in front of you, you will go out of your way to justify, angle, and argue it. Even if you see it firsthand, well, it's because the people beforehand, or it's because this. No, then what? Even if it's because, why aren't they stopping it? Why is it allowed to continue? They're in charge now. You know, you can't go back 2 years and say, well, this set the pace. No, then they're not good leaders. And you need to come to grips with what's going on, right? And that's for any time in history that people have looked and they're person one, but the economy's bust, inflation's crazy, everyone's sad, and they will still be stalwarts and say, this is a great, leader. And that's one of our big problems, defending our ego from our former belief, even in the face of atrocities. And that's very difficult to break.
And it's like, it doesn't need to be like a rude thing to rearrange people to where they do best. It's like, even within it, I mean, never mind if somebody really needs to be like shunned because of something like evil, but if you're just like, okay, we XYZ in the group is going to speak or whatever, and then you realize like, oh, that person gets like their knees start shaking. All right, switch it around. We're going to have somebody else do that. It's like, that's part of the naturalness, is like, people are good at some aspects. They love some aspects, like you were saying, Amber, and sometimes you don't. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with like taking all the pieces and being like, oh, okay, we're gonna change this up. That's the fun of it, and it's natural. That's part of the, Carol, what do you say, the self-assembling?
Yeah, right. Self-assembling.
It's the self-assembling of nature. So
learning too. I think we learn naturally. We keep learning, we keep pruning, we keep changing. We have, 360 trillion viruses and 36 trillion bacteria that are part of us, so they're not all evil. They're there to help us learn from our environment, and they're part of us. So that's just the process that we need to understand a little bit more. What is that natural process and how powerful it is? And
with this self-assembly, when we're looking at it, it just makes sense. Say you've got 10 people, and let's say, okay, I like doing memes, but there's actually 2 people that do it better. And I'm good at this over here, but I just want to do the memes. I have to be mature enough. And if life is an adventure and I'm excited, why wouldn't I go with something I'm much better at naturally, or find my groove, especially if it doesn't best serve the group, right? And that is something that is not only the responsibility of each individual during the self-assembly process, not to let our ego but I wanted to be the catcher, but you suck at catcher. You should be the first baseman. You can't do catcher. You suck at it. You can't even get the ball back to the pitcher. What's wrong with you? Well, I want to do it. And I feel like that's a lot of times in government and in all of these places, but I'm tenured but you suck. These other people would be so much better. We got a self-assembly where we're not in this rut where, as long as you get to keep your position, no holds barred, you'll do whatever it takes. We don't need people doing whatever it takes to get what they want. That's dangerous. Whatever it takes, that a lot of things fall under whatever it takes. And that's how bullies are made. And that's how you get monopolies designed. I mean, this is an issue that our egos, we're all responsible for them. And we've got to really do some deep soul searching. I have a problem with it too. I live with 2 little boys that don't listen. My husband doesn't listen. And you should watch me go off. Like, I can look like an egomaniac. And I said, and I want, but then I'm like, it's typical. This is human. And, and you learn from it, and it's fine. But I think people aren't aware that they actually have control over their own destiny, but they have to be willing to find their groove and their special talent. And I think a lot of people have stopped short of that.
Well, going back to the idea of
Go ahead, Carol. Hang on.
encourage-
One second, John. Carol was going to say something.
Oh, well, I was just talking about that we have to find the balance between the top-down organization and the bottom-up organization. We've gotten way out of balance, and we're getting further out of balance as we go to the one world everything. And that takes being able to self-organize and self-reflect and work things up from the bottom. Go ahead, John.
Well, I just want to underline that that idea, and also going back to encourage courage. We are getting the bad reputation, specifically men in America, are getting the reputation for being cowards, total cowards, because when it comes to going to a third world country and kicking the crap out of people and taking all their stuff, oh yeah, we're really brave. But then when it comes to standing up to our local politician, whom everyone knows is totally corrupt, thanks to Julian Assange, no, then we're very meek and quiet, and we stay in the corner. This is the time where that requires true courage and breaking of social norms. And the best example of breaking social norms is you're with your significant other at the opera, and the Met or La Scala, and right in the middle of the performance, you stand up and start talking to the guy behind you about a political issue, and everybody else would be like, "Sit down. What are you doing? We don't do that. You just don't do that at the Scala in the middle of the performance, a Rigoletto. You eat this. You have to. This is where we have to show some backbone and go outside the social norms, and risk getting attacked, viciously attacked by other people, the people we love. It's required. We have to do it.
Yeah, like the bullhorn, it's like you can be respectful and you can be audible, but also have a good rhythm, a good, however you want to express yourself. You want to be received. That's the thing. You don't want to just be like yelling out and people are, what's this maniac? You want to be like, wait for the right moment and say, I just want to tell you something or whatever, just like watch for the rhythm of things and jump in there and try to wait for a time where you're going to get received the best. So you might have something ready and waiting, and you might even think it's going to be a good opportunity and then it's not, or you might try and then try again later. But it's like, you're right, John, we need to find those ways to actually be the mutations in our culture, because that's what the mutations are. Over time, there's a change that is for a reason of environment or whatever, and it brings a new path and a new level, and then everyone kind of like gets used to that. So we can keep on driving this thing forward, and just like the nature that we talk about, we can have roots that go in a lot of different directions and still stay connected to the general, heartbeat of things.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think it is energizing too. What we've found with our group moving forward into a direction is that it's very energetic, and we feel it, and it helps drive us. It helps make it happen. So as we can spread it out to, the people we send our letters to in Africa or wherever they are, people here, to help them feel recognized for what they're doing and feel good about it will help energize them in spreading the word. So that's the self-organizing part.
And even we know that, obviously language is a huge joiner of people. So here we have in the United States, the UK, New Zealand, Australia, the English speaking world. But, anytime we can branch out, I know Tyrone, besides being a great singer that we just heard, he understands some Chinese, somebody else in our group, they also speak Japanese, and that was huge in our findings for during the time of Corona. So, even if it's one person that's bilingual, it's like translate one of George's videos or something, it's like it's a trick to think that if something's not checked in with some kind of like official whatever, that it's not moving us forward, because we can see that it is, and then we can, even with the notarizations and the format amber, we can like literally make it official.
I sent from Carol's Encourage Courage. I made a quick meme, or just like a saying, and I sent it by email, and then you can tell me what to add or what to take away, and then that way we can just pass that around too. If someone could grab that, I just sent it. It should just be under the email Encourage Courage.
I would say just the world of memes in general, just as an art form, as a platform for expression, I love it. I mean, it's so non-AI because, you know, it's like a slang, a sense of slang.
That's
Yes. Yes. We got to put a lion in there.
Their lion looks like I was going to do a lion and like a lions and tigers and bears and do one of each, but they all look so cartoony. I was like,
We have our osprey catching a hammerhead shark. That's pretty courageous.
yeah. And that could be put, the letters can be put down a bit, and then that can be put, configured on top of it.
Yeah, there's so many examples. It's such a nice statement, because you can apply it to so many, you know, you're going through and you see, you're like, oh, that one, courage, courage. And it just is, because it's, you know, and that, I would just say we have each other's back, you know. It's like a lot of, when there's so many people, you know, in the chat and throughout our group, you know, when we first started getting together for charrettes, you thought, in my mind, I was like, oh, people are going to pile there. And basically they did. But, you know, people are shy. Not everybody wants to, you know, so just because somebody's like not on screen or not, not even in the chat, I meant we have so many good people that are doing such hard work between just documenting, taking note, whatever, you know. So I and just even speaking of January 6th, like how many boots we had on the ground and how many angles we had covered that day, like I'm really proud of it. And I feel like everything that we're doing is such an extension of that, and it harkens like a kind of old schoolness, but at the same time we have so many good tools, and we're only moving forward into a more quantum world. So it's very exciting.
It is very human, I think, our group and all the things they're interested in, and that feels good. It's a way to counteract transhumanism.
I think so. And I think us being genuine in our uplifting, encouraging, informing, and being patient, kind, I think that goes a long way. But also not allowing people to duck out and pretend the facts aren't facts and the truth isn't the truth, and to just kind of numb out and think that, you know, they're going to wake up and everything will be back to normal. It actually takes everyone being coherent and helping each other to get through difficult times like this. Not, you know, just tuck back and be quiet and wait to hope that everybody else doesn't. And then last minute ask, why didn't anybody do anything? You should look in the mirror immediately. When out of your mouth is, why isn't anybody doing anything? You should be doing something, you know, so that you don't have to look in the mirror when you say that. You can be part of it. And then you can say, why isn't anybody else helping do anything? Why are there so few people helping? Right. But not, well, I was over here, cowered out, was hanging out in the corner, waiting for somebody to do something. Why didn't they? Things are really bad now. Here's a mirror right here. Like, we needed you. We all need you.
And I think it can be even simple as like somebody that's near you in line or sitting near you, say, what do you think about XYZ? You know, just opening up like any line of communication, even if it's just food for thought for later, it's really important. So it doesn't mean that you have to like say, oh no, I really can't because I don't, whatever. Because if you kind of follow, especially with communications, you know, if you think about what like the military does, or somebody that's flying a plane with the co-pilot, they always double check a couple times. So it's like, yes, we don't want to be like just repeating the same thing, but like a little double check of like, okay, are you hearing me? Yes, I'm hearing you, 5x5, whatever. It really helps to, what if, or to jot something down. What if you wanted to remember exactly what this person said? And it's like, make a little note, pull up your thing and bring a thing of, however, if you type or write, whatever kind of person you are, you might have something you want to look at later. That's like, oh yeah. Like that might even what you're doing. A lot of us just pull things and document them for later. We're like, we need this, we're gonna need this, we're gonna need this. Proofs, and that just doing that is enough to be like, oh yeah, let me go back to such and such, say, oh yep, you said blah 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 blah. It's like, that's great things to do.
And when you share with somebody, instead of going, just sending it, which seems, like, here, I'm gonna shove it on you. What I like to do is go, I just saw this or viewed this. This is concerning to me. I'm looking to see if it's based in fact 100%. It looks to be so far. I found the actual documentation. This person's narrating it. I know that they look passionate about it. It's something that this bothers me if it happens to be true, when I already know it's true. And then I say, so I wanted to share it with you because I know that you're very protective of your family and you want to know what's going on, but you don't have the time right now. I just was able to take 10 minutes to relax. So I thought I'd send it your way. You're right. You have that template. You copy and you paste that. You have it like in your notes, copy and paste, greetings, sharing ideas, right? And you add it to what you're sharing. You add the documents to what you're sharing, right? And then you pass it with like, I understand that you're busy. I understand that I'm going to be making sure this is true. But this made me think of you because I know how protective you are over your house. Let's hope it's not true, even though it's looking like it. But I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight if I didn't share it with people that I know would be very concerned about this.
Well,
Yeah,
in terms of frequency, it's like there's coherence that you were talking about, and there's resonance.
yes.
And that once you get that coherence that resonates, then that's the magic of emergence. So that's how we can change things way quicker than we realize we can.
Yes, and linguistically forming our words to communicate with others. I'm thinking about you, and this I am concerned about, and I know that you are on top of everything, and I want you to know I'm sharing it with you because you came to my mind. And how are you anyway? Right? That is well received, even if they're like, oh, this is horse shit, or I'm fine with it. Who cares? Because they're like, oh, that was very sweet. I may not believe that, but that's so sweet. She thought about me, or he thought about me. That's, well, I don't really think that's the case, but hey, I can see why they're concerned. It's just met with a smoother wave. It's not, you're not like in a choppy ocean trying to snorkel and you're getting water in the tube and everyone's screaming, why are we in this rough water? What the hell? But instead it's like, it's the beach, the water just kind of slowly coming in. You hear the seagulls, kids laughing in the background. That's the kind of linguistics when you're trying to share, to open up people's eyes. You want them to get that very calming feeling, not abrasiveness. And sometimes I can be abrasive because I get so upset. But, I have to work on it. But I think I need a reminder, and I have to say it out loud. I have to tell my kids things that I need to hear myself. So, boys, you need to do that's because I needed to hear it too, because I'm part of the problem, And I think we all need to say out loud, not only the things we struggle with, but to help others get past that with their communication, so that we're all solidly learning to communicate in a much better way instead of how the news tells us to do it. Bark at someone, yell at someone, mock them, laugh. If they make a comment you don't like, just put a laughy face. That's not going to change anything. It might make you feel better, but later you'll feel like crap when you burnt that bridge and that friend is no longer compatible.
So basically you're laying out the lines of communication being the most important thing. Don't shut down the lines of communication. It makes no sense. If you do that, I'm talking with like healthy, regular people you care about. If you do that, you are shutting off vital communication lines that you need. You need those. And so, yes, it's frustrating. I have an inner general that's constantly keeping me, yeah, we'll have these like, I've bitched a lot to myself and to this, the angels, stuff that I would never say to people just to vent. But at the same time, you don't let that go on for too long because you need that inner general to be like, okay, humble it up. Let's move forward. We don't need to mull on this,
There's this funny meme. It's hysterical. It says, "Me about to post something. Here's the inner voice of, or here's the voice of God. Don't do it." Then I immediately stop, and then look around. Don't post it. It's a very funny meme. I gotta find it, but it's really funny.
I love it.
I'm about to post something. Don't do it. Oh, because we need that. A lot of times we need that. And so I like when my conscience, I start to hear this. Is this really going to help, Amber? I know you really want to stick it to somebody right now who was freaking wrong and you're going to show them. Nope, don't do it. Just be nice. Just add this. And if they don't even open it for 2 weeks, who cares? You can sleep now because and it's got to come from a good place. Don't let it come from, I'm going to show them because, they're so stupid. They're going to feel that. And they're going to know that they're going to rebel against it immediately. Tell your kid, don't ever listen to this song. Don't ever listen to this song. Don't ever listen to this song and see what happens. The next day, you're going to open their bedroom door and listening to the song. So it works. It doesn't work on anybody. Your kids, your family, your friends. Do not demand and command. We don't even like when our government does it. Why are we going to do it to each other?
And we need to stay mad at the people that are manipulating them. Like you said, it's like, it's so easy because we care about these people to get caught up in our own feelings and emotions, and they're there, and we're not saying that they're not there, but it's the people that are putting these thoughts in their head that we need to collectively be angry about. And when you said that mellow thing, like, that's the tide rising all ships, it's coming up. They don't even know, but they're on it, so we rise together.
Yes, definitely. We need each other. And I know that we're annoying to one another. That's okay. It's supposed to be that way. It makes life interesting. It makes it amazing. We should take things with a grain of salt, except for the things that can kill us and slaughter us and put us in a pandemic and in a body bag while we're still alive. We should not, be calm and cool and collected about that, but just, just aggravation or someone being hyper or someone being it's a grain of salt. Like, just literally don't get so worked up. Don't get your feelings hurt. Half the time when you've had a conversation with somebody, it didn't go well. If you think they're just dwelling on it, walking around, no, like, you're not that important. None of us are that important. People aren't like, I wonder what so-and-so's doing right now. They don't care. Nobody cares. They've already got all their other stuff going on. Don't get all wrapped up emotionally. Just love, care, and communicate.
Well, that's one thing that I have a hard time. I'm not a very good communicator. But when I was arguing with some of the old Tea Party, the former Tea Party members in Ohio, and I was really getting into it, and I wasn't finding the right words. And one of the guys says, John, you calm down. You're getting too worked up. All we have to do is wait till November and get a few good people in, and then things will go much better. And no, even if you do manage to get some good people in, you've got to keep their feet to the fire. You've got to check them every day, every week. You got to be in their face.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to get our emotions all upset. I mean, it's a challenge for all of us. It is, and I think we're up for the challenge. We can do this.
Yeah, but
and try not
more than politics.
Well, it's removed from politics now. People that say like, oh, I don't do politics, it's like saying that you don't do food. You know what I mean? It's like, you might not focus on it, but you're involved, guaranteed.
We're all stuck in the same boat. Come on. Yep. We gotta do the oars together. We've got to move this ship together. We've got to steer the ship because nobody's steering it. And there's a big old waterfall.
Well, someone is the dark hand.
yeah, but they're pretending they don't exist.
Well, Well, I think that we can override it because, the light always scares out the darkness, drives out the darkness. And so, what we are going through right now is a strengthening process. I really believe that. And that's why when we talk about building what we are building, it's kind of the best opportunity, It's like some of the best things have strugglesome kickoffs just because you want it to be that friggin' good as a base and as a platform. And so we're not taking any crap. We're not going to, we have the light shining on the things that are coming out of the darkness. And it's ugly. Yes, it is ugly, but we are ready and we are here to deal with it.
I would rather know the ugly truth than believe a beautiful lie.
Yeah, because it doesn't cancel out the beauty at all. It actually makes the beautiful that much more beautiful because you appreciate it and you understand how blessed it really is.
Well, I think we're running out of minutes here.
Well, thank you, Protective
Will you end it for
Nest.
us, Carol? Will you end it for us, Carol?
Well, I guess I'll just end it with where we began about encouraging courage. I think that is a theme we've talked about all 2 hours. So that's what drew us to George, I think, was his tremendous courage, and to McDuff. I mean, they're both figures that have kept going when the going got hard. They just keep it up. So that's what we'll do too.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Keep on keeping on. Right.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay,
John. Thanks, Tyrone.
All three of you have given me some great ideas for things we can do at the charrette. Thank you, ladies, very much for your continued hard work and for all the great episodes.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
John.
you.
Thank you guys for hosting.
Okay. Bye.
See you next Friday.
See you next Friday.
Okay, I'm going to play a short 2-minute clip, and then I'm going to spend another 10 minutes talking some logistics for the upcoming charrette, and then that will be the end of the day.
Started seeing like blackberries, blackberries, government issued blackberries, government issued blackberries, government issued blackberries. They were blackberries. They were blackberries. They were blackberries. Man, this looks like government issued equipment. Man, this looks like government issued equipment. Man, this looks like government issued equipment. Man, this looks like government issued equipment.
Okay, welcome back to neighborhoodnewsstudio.com. Today is June 3rd, and we do not have a news hour tonight. We're a little bit short on manpower, and there are a lot of back office duties that I have to attend to. But I do want to take a couple minutes to go over with the some of the logistics for this upcoming charrette. Many of our subscribers know that we've had about 14 or 15 of these gatherings in groups of 10, 15, 20 self-entitled Ospreys, where we exchange working papers, ideas for new projects, research materials, and we also have a little bit of fun. We go see some local attractions or local museums. This upcoming one from the 12th through the 19th will be held in Temperance, Michigan, which is where I'm currently broadcasting from. And Temperance is just about 10 miles northwest of Toledo, Ohio. If you live within 500 miles of Toledo, please consider driving up even for just one day. It's worthwhile. You get to meet some of our some of our hosts and some of the other Ospreys face-to-face. And there is no substitute, as we said many times on our broadcasts, there's no substitute for a face-to-face communication and hug. The first time I ever met co-producer Tyrone was at a charrette, and within 5 minutes of meeting me, Tyrone gives me a great big hug, picks me up off the ground, and I can't tell you how much good it did me, that big hug from somebody who up until then was a total stranger. I knew it was a fellow Osprey, but it does mean a lot. So if you can drive in just for 4 hours or for the whole day, and if you're a little bit economically challenged, like many of us are, we will find a way to accommodate you. Don't worry too much about, don't let that, oh, I don't have the $70 for a hotel. Don't let that keep you from coming up and participating in the activities. One last note on the importance, as Carol McIntosh, Amber Connor, and Tara Starr just said, try to encourage within your family, your coworkers, encourage them to be courageous. There's never been a time when America needs courageous men and women more so than the present time. Get outside, meet with your neighbors, have a barbecue, invite your neighbors over, talk about things that are really important. The deep, deep state has no greater fear than American citizens talking about things that really matter and organizing, rowing in the same direction and getting some of these worthwhile projects off the ground. Be well, be strong, have courage, and have a great weekend. Signing off from Ospreyville in Temperance, Michigan, John Wilkins, Tyrone Sargent, Aaron Adler, and Andrew Dabala. See you next Monday.
Thank you.